Hey you guys, it's Peter and welcome to my channel, Peter Likes Books. And this is a video that I have been wanting to do for a while over on this channel, but the reason why I haven't done it is because I have so many books to talk about and I didn't want to have to clip and include every single cover of every single book in the video because it would be so time consuming. So actually what I'm going to do today is I'm just going to talk about the books. And then I think what I'm going to do is go into January and do kind of like a to be read in January. And in January, I will come back and I will talk about like the books that I have planned to read and things like that. But for today, I'm going to do a huge Audible haul because I have been buying books since I think late last spring on Audible. I actually went back into my Audible and I was like, okay, so what's the last book in here that I need to go back to? And it was actually Interview with the Vampire because that was the last book that I DNF'd reading on Audible or listening to on Audible. I DNF'd it, and then I started listening to, I'm sitting here listening, well, I'm not sitting here listening to it currently, but this is the book that I'm listening to, which is the Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. I feel like I have talked about this book ad nauseum on my channel. I can't wait to finish it. Trust me, when I finish this book, I will be doing a full review over here. But I wanted to talk to you guys all about all of the Audible books that I have purchased. I have so many credits, you guys. Right now, I have 7 credits on Audible. And I know people are like, you have to use them or they'll run out. Don't worry. I will be purchasing things with my Audible credits. Back in the day, it's so funny because I was listening to so much Audible that I never had 7 credits. I never had 1 credit or 2 credits. In fact, I would go in 2 to 3 times a month and I would buy extra credits because I wanted to buy more and more books, but that's not the case anymore. So I have 7 credits. So if you have any books to recommend, put it in the comment section below. If there has been a book that I do not mention that you have read that is absolutely phenomenal, let me know. Or if you listen to it on Audible and the Audible rendering of it was fantastic, put it in the comment section below and I will look into it and possibly buy it on Audible. But I wanted to let you guys know the different books that I have purchased on Audible, and I want to see what you guys think. So let me know if you've read any of these books. All right. So let's go in here to Interview with the Vampire was the last one. The next one that I got after that was The Paris Apartment, which is, I think it's the 2nd book by Lucy Foley. She may have written more books than that, but it's her newest release that came out in 2022. I believe it came out in February. And so I really liked her first book. Now I can't even remember what her first book is. If I go in here and I search it, it will, well, I guess I could. I could go in here and search her first book. Hold on a second. Lucy Foley. What was it? I remember it was the guest list. It didn't even come up, but I remember. It was a guest list and it was about the, all that, the party or the wedding at that house and everything like that. But I really liked that. So The Paris Apartment, that's the first book that I purchased. And I really haven't heard much about it. The next one was this book called Lucky by Marissa Stapley. My friend Tanya Jean, she read this book and she told me that it was really, really good. And I think I started listening to it in the spring before I started listening to the Simone St. James book. Or maybe I even started listening to it, I don't know, like before I listened to Interview with the Vampire. And I just could not get into it. I just really didn't like it. It was about like a con man and his daughter. And my friend was like, oh my God, it's one of the best books I've ever read. And I was like, really? Like, I really wasn't into it at all. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll give it another try. I know that you can return books if you don't like them. The next book is Murder at the Lakeside Library. I think this is book 1 in a cozy mystery series that was recommended to me. A lot of people recommend cozy mystery series to me. And so, I'll go in and if it looks like something good, like I'll download the first book and then I'll listen or read the first book. And if I like it, then I'll continue to read the series. So, Murder at the Lakeside Library. And then the next one is Loveless by Alice Oseman. This is actually the only work of hers that I have not read, other than the Nick and Charlie, the, the Heartstopper, I can't think of it. The Yearbook. It's the only book of hers that I have not read, and so I'm really excited about reading that. That's at the top of my list for going into 2023. Going into 2023, I want to read a couple thrillers. I definitely want to read, obviously, the Misfortune books, the Jana De Leon Misfortune books. There's a couple cozy mysteries that I want to read, and I definitely want to read Loveless by Alice Oseman. I've heard fantastic things about it. And like I said, it's the only book of hers that I haven't read. I've read Solitude, I've read Radio Silence, so Solitude, that is hers, isn't it? But anyway, and I just love her writing so much. I think she's fantastic. So the next book is Sea Storm by Andrew Mayne. And I don't know how I know some. I'm like looking at these books. Like if I asked my friend Tanya and I was like, so now what book did you read? She never can come up with the author. Barely if I give her a title, she's like, I don't know what happened to that book. But anyway, Andrew Mayne wrote a book. This is, I think, the third book in the series. I'm almost positive of that. The first book is called The Girl Beneath the Sea, and it takes place in Fort Lauderdale, and that's originally why I started reading these books, because we were going to South Florida. And she works kind of contractually for the police department, and she is a scuba diver. And so there's always like these mysteries that occur. It's not a cozy mystery, they're thrillers. And he's actually also written a series of books called The Naturalist, that I have downloaded the first one because it's supposed to be one of the most fantastic thrillers ever. So if you've never checked out Andrew Mayne, M-A-Y-N-E, please go check it out. It's fantastic. He's fantastic. So I should have said at the beginning of this, you might want to have like a notepad and a pen out. So go back, rewind the video, get out your notepad and your pen, and you can take notes of all the books I talked about. All right. The next one is You'll Be the Death of Me by Karen McManus. I just bought this not too long ago. Well, I don't know when I bought it. But I love Karen McManus's writing. I've only read the first book, and I think this is maybe the third book in the series of One of Us is Lying. And I know that there's a second book, and I think this is the third book. I also have another book of hers, which I think is called like something about the cousins or something like that. I have probably 3 in my Audible library, 3 Karen McManus books that I haven't read. And I really, really like Karen McManus, and I think she writes great young adult thrillers and suspense novels. They kind of remind me of the Lois Duncan and Christopher Pike books of back in the day. I don't know, she kind of like is able to kind of, she's inherited kind of that sense of the macabre a little bit, and weave it into the stories that are interesting with her characters. So I really like her writing a lot. All right, the next one is Run, Rose, Run by James Patterson, but it's also with Dolly Parton, and I am a huge Dolly Parton fan, and so they wrote it. It was James Patterson and Dolly Parton together. I actually, a couple years ago, I read the James Patterson book that he wrote with Bill Clinton, I believe, and it really was not bad. It was pretty good. You know, I kind of like joke about James Patterson because he formula writes. He has a team of writers that write for him. And so I'm just really not that interested in his writing anymore, versus back in the day when Kiss the Girls and Along Came a Spider and all those books. I mean, he was writing those books. Today, he doesn't write his books. Although my friend Tanya said she just read a book of his the other day and she thought it was pretty good. Mel, my book club partner, she read a book of his the other day. She said it was pretty good. I mean, newer books of his. So I got this Dolly Parton and James Patterson book. If you've never read the James Patterson, and I think it's called The President is Missing, I actually read it while we were on vacation. I listened to it on Audible. It was a great book. It was not... I think I did give it actually 5 out of 5 stars. It was really good, and it was really well done, fast-paced. The next book I got was called Young Rich Widows by Kimberly Bell, Lane Fargo, and Kate something. I can't see it on here. And I got it because my friend Tanya Jean actually told me to read this book. I think it's so funny because I was just talking to Mel, my book club partner, the other day, and she said she read this book, and I think this is the book that she read. But Tanya recommends books to me all the time, and sometimes I love them and sometimes I don't. We either like are very similar in our book reading tastes, or we're completely separate and, you know, we don't agree at all. But I think Mel told me that she just read this and she really, really liked it. So she said it was about, I think, all these young women, like their husbands are executives for a company and they all get killed on like a plane crash or something. And so it's about their lives afterwards. And she's like, it's a little bit like, this is the book she was talking about. She said it's a little bit mafia, it's a little bit funny and all this kind of stuff. So sounds good. I will read that. The next book I got was If You Change Your Mind by Robbie Weber. fellow bookstagrammer, booktuber out there. This is his first book, which I'm very, very excited. He sent me a advanced reader's copy of it, signed and everything, which I was so excited about. And I was actually going to make it one of the books for Peter's Book Club last year. But that was when I kind of had stopped doing that, and so I didn't end up doing that. But his next one, when it comes out, I promise Robbie, I will make it part of Peter's Book Club. I am such a believer in supporting friends who are writers and supporting other people within this, bookish community. And I'm so happy for him, and it's just, he's doing so well, and the book is doing so well, and it's just a really cool thing. And so it's an LGBT romance book, and he has a lot of movies that are referenced in there, so I'm very excited. I haven't read it, I haven't listened to it yet, so I'm very excited about that. The next one is Out of the Blue by Jason June, and this is a young adult LGBT book, and I think it is about a guy that falls in love with a merman. So whatever, I don't know anything about it. I heard good things about it. I saw a lot about it on different bookstagrammers talking about it, and that was the reason why I downloaded it. Okay. The next book is 9 Lives by Peter. How many more do I have? Oh my God, so many more. The next book I have is 9 Lives by Peter Swanson. I don't know really anything about this book, except for that I heard that it was a great thriller. So I'm always down for a great thriller. The cover of it very much looks to me like the Lucy Foley book, so Guest List and The Paris Apartment. So I almost wonder if it's not by the same publisher. The next book is the next book in the Misfortune series. I think it's number 22, Flame and Fortune by Jana DeLeon. And I am so excited about reading this. Oh my God. And actually, there's 2 new books of hers. I haven't read number 23, which is... hold on, I just bought it. Swamp Spirits. So I have 2 Misfortune books to read, and I'm extremely excited about reading both of those. I don't know anything about them, but I mean, you can't go wrong with a Misfortune. If you are looking for a cozy mystery series, and you've never started one, and you've wanted to start one, or you like them, and you've never read Jana DeLeon, she is unbelievable. Her character development, her stories, her mysteries stand. I never can figure out the mysteries by the end of them. They are just so good. I love them so much, and they're so just comical, and they're very cozy, and there's always a lot of food, and I don't know. I love all of her books. Okay. The next one is Blake Crouch's newest book, Upgrade, which if you've watched my videos, you know that I am a diehard Blake Crouch fan. I really, really love his books. I've read in the past couple years A Dark Matter and Resurgence. Is that what it's called? Something like that. Anyway, and I read The Pines. I have read probably, I don't know, like more than that, 5 to 10 Blake Crouch books in the last couple years, and I just love him. And a lot of the books that I've read of his are books that he published 10 years ago, and they stand the test of time. They're just as good then as they were now. I think, like, he found a new publisher, and like his books are now being marketed differently, and they're getting different covers and things like that, and so he's more hitting mainstream, and I think that's why he's getting more notice now. But his writing, all of it is fantastic. I love all of it, so I'm excited about reading that. Nevada by Imogene Benny. Okay, so I read an article about this book, that this was one of the most important books of 2022 to read. I believe, and I could be wrong about this, I'm probably going to describe a book that has nothing about this, but I believe that it's about somebody that's trans and like a journey that they make across the country. I've heard it's absolutely phenomenal, and I believe it won a bunch of awards, and I just heard great things about it. So when I was reading this article, I was like, well, I'm just going to go in and buy this book if it's really that good. The next one was The Retreat by Sarah Pierce. I read her first book. I cannot remember what it was called, but it was very similar to that. It was about like a hotel and a cliff. Do you guys remember that? But I have seen so much marketing about this book, The Retreat, and so many people talking about what a great book it is. So I'm excited about reading that. It's yet another thriller. So yeah. And then The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay. Somebody recommended this to me. So I read several years ago, what was it called? The Cabin at the End of the World, which they're actually making into a movie by M. Night Shyamalan. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. They called the movie something different, and I read this article, and apparently Paul Tremblay wasn't allowed to come out until July of this year and say that the movie was based on his book. The Cabin at the End of the World is probably one of my favorite thrillers of life. It was so weird, and just, it was so fantastically done. Very apocalyptic. I then went on to read another book of his. I can't remember what it was called, but it took place around like Christmas time, and they're in and out of the school. It was very scary. His books are they're so well done. So I was recommended The Pallbearers Club. I heard it was really, really well done. I think it came out this year, so I'm excited about reading it. I haven't really been let down by anything of his that I've read. My most anticipated read for 2023, which I should save until my 2023 video, but my most anticipated read is Grady Hendrix's How to Sell a Haunted House. I cannot even, I was going to try to get an art copy of it, an advanced reader's copy. I was going to try to get a copy of it, or a review copy, because I just am so dying to read. If you guys know, I love Grady Hendrix. Like, Grady Hendrix is probably, for me, one of my top favorite writers of the last 20 years, and he just writes horror like nobody's business. And the last book of his that I read was a guide to how to Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I think that was the last book that he came out with. I mean, I've read them in order, but he is just so fantastic, and I cannot wait. I follow him on Twitter, and he like posts all of these like books from back in the day, these horror novels and horror movies and stuff. That is my #1 most anticipated read of 2023, How to Sell a Haunted House. So if any of you out there have an art copy of it, send it this way, because I'm dying to read it. Okay, the next book is A Body at Buccaneers Bay by Josh Lanyon. So this is a series of cozy mysteries that are gay-themed cozy mysteries. Like, the main character is a gay guy, and he opens a bookstore in this small town called Buccaneers Bay, I think. And I love them so much, but they don't release them on Audible. I love the Audible narration of them, but they don't release them on Audible very often. And when I bought this, they had just released it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to buy it. So I'll read them as they release them on Audible. I think there's like 6 books out, but there's only like 3 books released or something like that. I really enjoy them. They're really, really good. Okay, and then the next one is Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister. I don't know anything about this book. Somebody recommended it to me. Somebody also, a lot of these books I saw, I think, on the Goodreads, like Good Choice of the Year, you know, like all the books that they talk about. All Good People Here by Ashley Flowers. I think that was another book that somebody recommended to me. Carrie Soto Is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So if I had to say what my most anticipated read of 2022 would have been, which I never got to it would have been Carrie Soto Is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid, next to Grady Hendrix, next to Blake Crouch, are probably in my top 5 of favorite writers to read in this decade. And Taylor Jenkins Reid, I know that this book is good because Mel just read it and she said it was fantastic. My friend Tanya just read it and she said, whoever told you it's not about tennis lied. I said, I never said it wasn't about tennis, Tanya. But I said, was it good? She goes, oh, it's fantastic. She's like, it was a Taylor Jenkins Reid book. Both of them said it wasn't as good as her last 2, but they said it was still really, really good. And Leah Moriarty is another one that is in my top. Apples May Fall was the last book of hers that I read. But I love everything that Taylor Jenkins Reid puts out. I even read this one book of hers that was so short, and it was like a novella. It was called The Affair or something like that. It was so sad. But anyway, so I'm really excited about reading Carrie Soto Is Back, which is about a tennis star that has retired, but she makes a return out of retirement to like do this one last Grand Slam. The Stitchers by Lauren Lawrence. Okay, so I have a friend of mine that is a school librarian, and every once in a while she'll make recommendations to me, and she was like, you have to read this book. She's like, this book is so good. So that's where I got that recommendation. The next recommendation I'm not going to say because it's the book for January 2023's Peter's Book Club, so I'm not going to read that. Then Swamp Spirits by Jana DeLeon, and the last one is A Hard Day for a Hangover, which is book 3 in the Dorinda Jones book series. A Good Day for Chardonnay. Bad Day for Chardonnay. Anyway, Good Day for Chardonnay? I think it's A Good Day for Chardonnay. But anyway, it's the 3rd book in the series about Sunshine Vickery, and I love those books so much. Oh my God, I love them so much. So that is my huge, huge, huge Audible book haul. Let me know which books you bought on Audible recently or which books you want to read and all of that. Put it in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.